Hey guys, what's up? Kim here. So I wanted to make another video, and I decided that this one was going to be another story time video. The next video I do upload is going to be a vlog where me and my friend Alex go on Clinton Road, which is one of the most haunted roads in New Jersey in the country. So we're going to check that out since I live pretty close to it. I've been there literally more times than I can count, and every time I've gone there's been something crazy that's happened, so I'm hoping to catch it on film. But for now, I'm going to talk about my abusive ex-boyfriend, how that basically tell my story of that relationship, and hopefully talk about how I got out of it, and hopefully it'll help some people that might be in a similar situation now, that might need some strength, because if you are in that situation, you are so much stronger than you realize, and you are so much better than the person that is laying hands on you. Don't you ever let them tell you that you're worthless or that you're the problem. Ever. Don't let them gaslight you. If you know in your heart and in your gut that you're being treated badly, it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter if you feel you deserve it. You don't. Everybody deserves respect. That is the only thing that you deserve. Love and respect. That's it. That's all anyone on this planet deserves. So with that said, getting that out of the way. So this story starts when I am 16. No, I'm sorry, 15. Right before my 16th birthday, I met this guy through my friend's summer. And I started texting him. I hadn't met him in person. Like, we started talking or whatever through, like, texting. And, we lived in town. And he had gone to the same school as me for a while, but I had never met him because he had gotten kicked out. But that wasn't a red flag to me for some reason. So he was trying to get back into the school. And it did end up succeeding, but then he got kicked out again, so I start texting him at 15, and we're texting back and forth, and I'm kind of falling head over heels for the guy. And at that age, I fell head over heels for men pretty quickly. For anybody, very quickly. I do believe that was something I had to work on. I had to learn how to love myself. The only way that I felt like I was worthy of love is if somebody was telling me that I was worthy of that love. And if they weren't giving me that love, then I just assumed that I did something wrong and I deserved that. And that's not the case. Everybody deserves basic human decency and respect. Everybody. But anyways, I'm not going to preach the whole time. I'm just going to tell my story. So, I start talking to him. We start flirting. And everything seemed fine and normal. There were a couple of red flags, but nothing that really, was too crazy. Just that he had, a mouth. I had never witnessed him be violent with anybody. He just talked a lot about, if somebody made him mad, he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this person up. You know what I mean? I just thought he was all bark, no bite. Which was how a lot of guys that age were. So I just didn't think twice about it. Especially the guys I hung out with. So I just was like, whatever, normal. Until my sweet 16 rolls around. Now, I had started talking to him literally, as I was planning my sweet 16, and it was about to happen. So I was like, Mom, I'm inviting this guy. I have a huge crush on him. My mom was like, okay, I guess. And I warned my mom, because when I invited him to my sweet 16, he was like, oh, I'll come. And he's like, but I don't have any, clothes to dress up in, dress up clothes or whatever. And formal attire. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word for a hot minute. Formal wear. He didn't have any. And at that age, I understand, especially given his situation. I'm sure it's not going to be hard to figure out, but he grew up in a home where he was abused by his father. So, wow, I should be looking at that. I just realized that I look at myself. I should be looking at you guys. I'll try and do that, but it's going to be really hard for me not to. Whatever. Anyways, so, you know, he talked about how his father was an abusive piece of shit, and that's why his parents weren't together, and why he lived with his grandparents, and why he got kicked out of school, and why he was so violent, and why he had a coke problem. He had lots of excuses. But anyways, I do understand the abusive father, though. That can definitely fuck somebody up. But I was raped, and I would never want to rape somebody in return. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm wronged, I'm not going to wrong somebody else in the same way that I was wronged. It just doesn't make sense. It continues a cycle, and then the cycle never ends. No, not good. Let's break that shit. So I'm like, whatever, not a big deal that you don't have formal attire. Just, you know, dress up as fancy as you possibly can, and you'll be good. I literally didn't care. I just liked the guy. I just wanted him to come to my birthday. So I told my mom that he was not going to be, you know, dressed up, because I'm trying not to, like, you know, say anything negative about my mom, but she was very judgmental about my boyfriends, about my significant others, period, which I guess is, like, normal for parents, but, like, I mean, sure, I'll grant it, this one she was right about, but 99% of the time she was just being a judgmental jerk about it. No offense, Mom, but you were. Anyways, so, he shows up, and my mom immediately starts flipping out because he's wearing a fucking hat, and she's like, that's so rude. And I'm like, we're fucking 16. What that wasn't the big deal. But we're gonna get to what the big deal was. My mom ended up being right and making me eat shit later that night, because I invited my friend, let's call her Olivia. I invited my friend Olivia to my Sweet 16 as well. She also didn't have anything fancy to wear. However, I am a girl and she is also a girl, so I was able to just be like, here, borrow a dress. And she was like, sweet, thanks. So she borrows the dress, whatever. The party's in full swing. Everybody's having a great time. Me and that guy that I had a thing for, we were hanging out the entire time, you know, and I felt like it was going in the right direction. And then it comes time to do the 16 candles part, which if you've never had a Sweet 16 or never been to one, basically it's the speech where you light a candle and you dedicate a candle to each person that's important in your life. So like I had, my mom was one, my dad, my grandparents, my best friends, all like individually got them, so stuff like that. So as I'm, you know, doing that, oh no, I have to edit that part out too because I was remembering it wrong. I'm sorry. I was remembering it wrong. It wasn't during when I was reading my 16 candles. It was worse than that. It was after that, but it was when I was dancing with my dad. I was doing my father-daughter dance to a cute father-daughter song, only to look up, and what do I see? What do I see? I see my friend Olivia grinding with the guy I liked at my Sweet 16 while I was dancing with my father. Could it get any trashier? I don't think so. So yeah, that happened, and that was very upsetting for me. Obviously, my best friend Alex, who I can share her real name because she doesn't mind. You know, her and another girl that I was good friends with at the time both dragged me to the bathroom while I was crying hysterically, and they were like, you know, basically like, you should be pissed off at both of them. And now, mind you, Kim now is a little bit of a pushover, but Kim back then was definitely a pushover. Yeah, I'm making a video. What up, what up? That was my coworker. Anyways, he thought I was talking to myself, but no, I'm talking to you guys. Or I guess I'm talking to myself. Anyways, so I, you know, I'm all upset about it, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to be mad at anybody. And the way I used to justify those kinds of red flags would be, well, we're not officially together yet. That's a very adult way of thinking for a 16-year-old. I shouldn't have to justify that. It shouldn't be that complicated when you're that young. It should be pretty fucking straightforward and simple. Don't go crazy, you know? If he's a jerk, he's a jerk. Don't deal with it. Don't put up with it like I did. But I did. And I didn't get mad at my friend, and I didn't get mad at him. Well, I mean, I was upset. I just didn't say anything, obviously. So, flash forward, because he ends up dating that friend. Olivia and him end up dating. They're together for a couple months. A bunch of shit happens with them. And then, bye, Brandon. See you later at my house. But so they end up dating, and at that point I started dating somebody else. This guy that was a little older than me. He was like 2 years older than me. We dated for a couple months. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Wasn't that serious. That guy breaks up with me. I was very upset about it, obviously. And then for whatever reason, Olivia and that guy break up, and me and him had remained friends. And in the back, I don't like to admit this now, but I think deep down I stayed friends with them both because I was just secretly waiting. You know, I was being an asshole. Yeah, but I was secretly waiting for them to break up, and it happened. So, eventually, me and him get together. And at first, literally, it started out like any other relationship. It was normal at first. We were very passionate about each other, obsessed with each other. We had a very interesting honeymoon phase, but it was very short-lived. Within, I want to say, a month of us dating, things started to get bad. So the one night I went over to his house, and mind you, my mom hated him, so we always had to sneak around to see each other. I would always tell her I was hanging out with a different, like with my friend Alex or whoever I would tell her I was hanging out with, and then I'd walk to his house, which, by the way, was not, I mean, it wasn't a super far walk, but it wasn't super close either. It was still far enough that, like, anybody I tell about it to this day is like, wow, you used to walk that far? Like, the fuck? The heart wants what it wants, what can I say? So basically, a month in, things start going south. He starts, well, okay, so I'll start with this. So one night, I went over to his house, and I walked there. We always walked to each other because we weren't really allowed to see each other. I was often lying about who I was seeing, and then I would, you know, go to his place, whatever. So that was why a lot of the abuse was easy for him to get away with, because my mom never had any idea where I was, and I was always so afraid of getting in trouble for the original lie that I would just not say anything, because I was more afraid of getting grounded for lying to her than I was about, I don't know, him abusing me. I don't know, it's crazy how your brain works when you're young, but so the first night that something bad happened that should have been a major red flag for me was about a month into dating. Maybe it was like 3 weeks, not even. I think it was just shy of a month dating. I went over to his house one night. I was coming over for dinner. His grandma used to like, well, both his grandparents adored me. And his grandma knew I liked mac and cheese, so she would always make homemade mac and cheese whenever I would come over. Loved his family, truly. And I want to say that as a friend, he was a good friend to me. I will give him that. He just, I don't think he knows how to love. I don't think he can. I don't think he's capable. But I was over his house. We had just eaten dinner. We were hanging out in his room. And he was smoking a cigarette. And all of a sudden, he pulls something out of his pocket. And I'm like, what's that? He's like, oh, like, nothing you need to worry about. And I was like, okay. And and it's like a little baggie, and he opens it and starts dumping a white powder onto his dresser, and, you know, just takes a fucking card and starts, you know, setting up a line. And at this point, I had never even seen somebody, like, smoke weed in front of me at this point. Let alone, like, the worst thing anybody had ever done in front of me at that point was smoke a cigarette, and I smoked too, so that wasn't a big deal. But so that was crazy for me to see. I, like, couldn't even process it. I think, like, I blacked it out for a long time, because I just didn't want to, address that issue, because I didn't know how. I was too young. I had no idea what I was getting into, but, he did it in front of me, and, immediately I could tell it was making him act aggressive. He was already mad because I had questioned him about it, because while he was setting up the line, I was like, do you have to do that in front of me? That was like the only thing I said the entire time. I was like, do you have to do that in front of me? It's making me uncomfortable. I don't even think I said it was making me uncomfortable. I just said, do you have to do that in front of me? And he was pissed after he did the line. He did the line, and then he looks at me like with this, like he wanted to fucking kill me. He just looked at me and he was like, don't fucking tell me what the fuck to do. And I was like, okay, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. And I was like, really, I'm sorry, like, I don't want you to be mad at me, because at that time I was way too much of a, I didn't have a backbone, so I couldn't stand up for myself, so I wasn't about to get into that argument with him, and the logistics of him doing drugs in front of me. We're doing drugs, period, at his age, but whatever. And he proceeded to, I always, to this day, I always wear my hair up. It's just how I am. It's easier. And he grabbed me by my hair and, pulled me over to the dresser, and he pushed, like, my face, like, like, there was, like, a little bit of, like, residue left behind. Not much. He had, like, wiped it up and, like, I guess, like, wiped it on his gums or whatever. And, so there wasn't much left, and he, like, kind of, like, pushed, like, my face to look at it, and he was like, you're gonna have to get used to this. If you can't handle this, you can't handle me. And he just, like, and he kind of, like, tossed me back. Not too hard, but he definitely tossed me back. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, and at that point, I just said, fuck you, dude. And I went home, I walked home. And I cried my eyes out as I walked home. It was fucking freezing. His grandparents were supposed to drive me home, and I didn't even want to deal with that because I was so, I was shaking. I couldn't stop crying, and I didn't want to tell the truth about what happened. And I couldn't think of a lie that made sense, so I figured, fuck it, I'll just walk home in the cold. Better than that. Plus, whenever they gave me a ride home, he would always come with me for the ride, so I definitely did not want to be around him any longer than I needed to. Somehow he talked me into forgiving him. He texted me the next morning and was like, I am so sorry that I did that. Like, it will never happen again, da-da-da-da-da. And I believed him. I made him promise to never do that shit again. And he said, no, I won't do it again, I promise. And I was like, okay, I believe you. And then things were okay for probably about a week. And then another incident happened where this time I caught him doing it in his bathroom. I was sitting in his room waiting, and he was taking a really long time. I remember thinking, like, damn, even if he's taking a shit, like, this is taking a long time. Was he pushing that baby in there? And, like, I just had, like, the flashback to last week, and I was like, sus. And, of course, I walked right in, and, he was literally doing the line as I walked in, and I was like, oh, cute. So this is how this is going to be. Good to know. And at this point, we were alone. There was nobody around. And I just said, I literally just didn't even close the door. I started to walk away, to make a move, to walk out of his house and walk away. I was intending to never talk to him again. That was kind of like where I was going with that. And he chased me. And he grabbed me, and he dragged me back into his room, and he closed, and once he threw me onto his bed, and then he, closed the door and, like, locked it, and, like, stood in front of it, and was, like, guarding it, and was like, you're not fucking going anywhere. He's like, you're not gonna fucking leave me like that. And he always would call me stupid bitch. He's like, I don't know what the fuck you think you're doing, you stupid bitch. Like, his thing was, I always thought that I was better than him. So he would always, like, mock me and be like, whoa, maybe one day you'll understand, but until then you're a stupid, ignorant bitch. I remember this vividly. And, I'm convinced that even if he didn't mean to, he put a curse on me that day, because I did end up becoming an addict myself. However, even though I'm an addict and I understand certain things that addiction does that I would never do if I weren't on, that drug. However, when I was using, I never got violent. Ever. But I didn't do uppers, though. I was a heroin addict, so it's not like I could even really fight on dope if I wanted to anyways. But even if that was the case, I'm not a violent person. I would never react that way, ever. When I get drunk, I don't get violent. I just get sad. When I get high, I don't get violent. I just get sad. So, I just don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want it to be too triggering for anybody else. At this point, I feel like I've already gone into enough detail with the actual abuse, and it went on like that for a long time. So, eventually, though, he ended up taking my virginity shortly after my Sweet 16, and this was before the first incident with the coke. So I was really happy to lose my virginity to him at the time. I was excited to lose my virginity, period. I think at that point, it was more about just finally fucking doing it. I didn't even care who it was with at this point. I just didn't want to be a virgin anymore. Sorry if that's TMI, but that's just how I felt. So, but I was happy that I lost it to him, because at that point I was kind of starting to be convinced that things were going well, and I thought that maybe we were going to be together for a long time. I definitely wasn't convinced we were going to be together forever, but I definitely thought we would be together for a while. And there were times where he, his abuse would be physical, mental, verbal, it's like all of it, sexual, all of it. Though I will say the worst thing he ever did to me was, I told him at one point that my period was late, because it was, and I thought I might be pregnant, and I told him, and he pushed me down the stairs in his house, and I just remember being so fucking in pain and afraid, but also so tired. I almost killed myself that night, just to get away, because I felt like, being alive, I was never going to escape him. So I thought I was going to kill myself that night. Luckily I didn't. Because anytime that I contemplate killing myself, luckily, for the most part, I wouldn't follow through with it, because anytime I would start getting into a plan, I would start realizing how painful that would be. And that is I will admit to this day, I am not afraid to die. Death is not scary to me. Pain is what scares me. Pain sucks. I deal with it all the time. Physically, mentally, emotionally. It's great. But that was the worst thing he ever did to me. Turned out I wasn't pregnant. Ended up getting my period literally 2 days later. So I went through all that for nothing. And you know what's funny? I really thought that if I was pregnant, maybe he wouldn't hurt me. Maybe he would feel like he had to protect his own child. I don't know. Didn't expect. I don't know how, but I didn't expect it. I think that was the most shocking one to me. His exact words were, "I can't do that." And the way he said it was just so... He didn't say it angrily. He sounded tired too. I'll never forget that. I think he knew what he was. And I think he hated who he was, because it reminded him of his father. Now, I did find out something about him recently. Turns out he is married, or at least has been with this girl for a long time, and they have a child together. I did privately reach out to her to let her know what... I don't do it out of spite. I always do it to protect them, and I never make it sound like I'm telling them what to do. But if I see that he's dating somebody new, I will reach out and be like, "Hey, just so you know, this is what he did to me and a couple girls in the past. I have a few other girls that I'm friends with to this day that are on me with this." So I actually had one girl reply back and was like, "Oh my god, I never," and he was beating her too. So we were able to help her. So that's why I do it. So I did it. and she told me, now whether or not this is true or not, I don't know, because I used to lie too. But she swears up and down that he's never once hit her, and that he doesn't do drugs, and that he's been clean since way before they even got together. And that might be true. And if he really is working on himself and changing, that's very rare, but good for him. Doesn't change the fucking terrible trauma he did to me, but at least I'll know that he's not going to traumatize anybody else. So I'm actually pretty hopeful, and hoping that that's the truth. I hope that girl knows that if you're watching this, if the truth is that he is abusive and you're just too afraid to reach out, make a fake account, do whatever you gotta do, find a way to reach out to me. I got your back. And I have plenty of strong females that were abused by him too, that would have your back too. We've created a sisterhood. Actually, it's kind of funny because he was also not only abusive, but he was also an avid cheater. And I ended up reaching out to a lot of the girls he was cheating on me with, and we all did something straight out of a fucking movie sitcom. And we basically all showed up at his house at once one day. And this is the breakup story. So this is how I left. Ironically, cheating was the last straw for me. I would rather be hit physically than have you go behind my back and fucking cheat. Because at least abuse is like, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that like, you know, like it's better. They're both horrible. But I'm just saying for me personally, at least like, I know it sounds fucked up, but at least I see one coming and one's like straight up. The other one, they're hiding, you don't know what's happening, and then when you find out that, it's just grimy. It's all grimy. But I found out that he was cheating on me with one of my best friends at the time. And she, unlike most of the girls, was crazy and seemed to be convinced that, like, if she could just get rid of all of us, that would fix the problem. As if he, himself, wasn't the problem. He also beat her too, but she just refused to do anything about it for a long time. She defended him. She's an idiot. I will never forgive her stupidity. Let's just say she did some things. If she hadn't done some things, then I wouldn't have been traumatized as much. She triggered a lot of the abuse that I got. So I have a lot of hate towards her too. So yeah, I know it sounds fucked up to hate on anybody that he abused, but she was on another, she was on another fucking league, man, that girl. So, anyways, so back to the breakup story. So I find out that he's cheating on me with that girl, one of my best friends. I get really pissed off, and that was my final straw because I knew that she had, let's just say that she had, something that he could have gotten and then passed on to me. Yeah. Because he also was abusive about the fact that he didn't want to use condoms. So, hell no. You're not gonna force me to not use condoms but also cheat on me. With somebody that you know has an STD, I won't say which one, a non-curable one at that, a bad one. Don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare. So, when I found that out, I was pissed. Immediately got myself tested once I was old enough to go out on my own. Unfortunately, I was too scared to tell my mom and have her bring me, so I did wait until I was 18, which was probably better because this particular one probably would have taken a while to come up anyways. Thank God I don't have it. But one of the girls did get it. So, that's fucked up. But anyways, so when I tell the girls, that pretty much is all their last straws too. I mean, some of them were going back and forth, but it seemed to be like the final straw for a lot of us. So we all decided to hang out with him. So I set it up. I was hanging out with him that day, and I texted them to let them know that we were there by ourselves, that, you know, nobody, like his family wasn't around, because for whatever reason, his grandparents seemed to feel bad for me, and they seemed to understand what was going on, and seemed to try to do what they could to protect me, but they also, I don't know, they didn't also seem like they wanted to get too involved either. But some of his other family members were just straight up assholes, and if you said anything bad about him, they would fucking come at you like he was a saint to them, that he could do no wrong in their book. Fucking piss me the fuck off. Don't you dare tell me I'm a fucking liar. You know the bruises, the scars I still have on my fucking body that I have fucking shame for my own body of? You ain't gonna tell me I'm lying. You ain't gonna tell 7 girls they're lying. So anyways, we're at his house, chilling, you know, and his family leaves, and they're all gone, so I hit up the girls in a group text, and I'm like, time to go. And they all come, and they took 2 cars, luckily, because 2 of the girls, the only 2 of them had licenses and had cars, so it was perfect, and luckily we all fit. So we all came, and yes, there were lots, we got, hold on, I don't want to name any name. Okay, I had to pause it so I could count and not say names and reveal identities. So there was fucking, like, 7 of us. Not including me. So 8 total. So, anyways, so 7 fucking girls show up in 2 fucking cars, and they just fucking, and me and Shane were in his room, so he had no idea. You can only, like, see, like, where they parked from, like, if you were, like, in his living room, like, watching out the front window. Obviously, he wasn't. He was in his bedroom, distracted by moi. We were just hanging out, and, you know, all of a sudden, he hears the front door open. At that point, he didn't even think twice. He just assumed that somebody from his family was just coming back or whatever, forgotten something. But no, nobody forgot anything. Except for commitment. Anyways, and don't abuse women, because we'll fucking come at you when we finally lose our shit. Seriously. Anyways, so yeah, they show up, and we basically give him what he deserves and embarrass the shit out of him and make it very clear that he not only lost out on all of our amazing, beautiful asses, but that we would make sure that no woman in that town, or a town within a 50-mile radius, would be willing to touch his fucking dick. And we did do that. We managed to do that for a long time. The only girl that he could get with was said girl that I was talking about that I don't like. So, it worked. Female energy. So yeah, I know I'm like trying to make this like more entertaining, and I'm trying to make it more lighthearted because it is a very heavy topic, but I like to tell that story to people because I want them to know that when you stick up for yourself and you take your power back, a lot of the times that's enough. It's kind of like when a bear comes out of the woods, a big bear, and it comes up and it starts wanting to check out your food, and it's big and scary. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to make yourself way bigger to scare the bear. So it's kind of like that.